Today we're going to be going over pro games and we're going to be going over the LCS games that just happened today and we're going to be reviewing them step by step just to kind of learn from the pros, see what they're doing with their gameplay, and then try to pick up new things to incorporate into our own gameplay. So we'll start with the TSM versus 100 Thieves game that I'm going to share screen right here. And key things to look out for are the minimap, and number two, uh, the placement of each player when it comes to setting up a specific objective. Say like you see dragon coming up on the table. Make sure you keep track of the placement of each player where they decide they want to be. And then third thing, if you're a jungler, try to pretend you're one of the junglers and try to predict their every move. And on every single instance, ask yourself, why did he do that? Or why do I think he's going to do that? And this will just help you train your intuitive thinking when it comes to, learning from the best, copying the best junglers. And after that, just in specific, uh, focus on the team fights as well, how fast they go for team fights, how they team fight, when they want to team fight. So these are questions that you want to
Really
always
easy to
be asking
interrupt.
yourself when you're looking for VOD reviews.
Hey Mike, isn't like the draft different in like LCS play and whatnot? Because I don't really watch this stuff. Isn't it like three and then two or something like that?
So it's first pick, blue side, two picks, red side, then two picks, red side, then it's going to be third pick, red side, and then after that, it's going to be first pick, red side, after two bans from both teams. Then it's going to be two pick blue side, then it's going to be last pick red side. If you ever want to double check that, you can just rewatch like any of these LCS videos or
Oh,
LEC or regional competitive games, and you can just see how they pick in this order. So generally speaking, if you're interested in the nuances of LCS drafting, uh, blue side gets blue side advantage is it in its first pick power spike. Red side advantage is that it gets last pick, so the person can see the entire team comp of everybody besides before they pick the last champion. So usually blue side's like first pick, and then red side is last pick. And then another interesting thing is on red side, you get first pick after two bans. So that's a slight advantage as well for red side, is you get first pick on this number four area after banning two, and then they ban two as well. And then a slight advantage for blue side is that in this situation, they most of blue side's advantage, let me repeat this, is on the first pick. Otherwise, red side has all these like counter pick areas. Slight advantage for blue side is that if they have a counter pick, uh, then you can counter pick this red side's first pick on the number four right here, the number four slot, with these two champions here. Because as you can see here, um, they're gonna pick, say, Gnar here, and then now TSM can counter pick that first pick player with whatever top laner they want. So these guys decide that they want to play Yone into the Gnar. But then, as you can see, red side has the fifth pick advantage here. And so now this fifth pick, which is going to be mid lane, can counter the Zoe, can pretty much try and counter everything else as well. So that's where
I
the
like
red side advantage comes into.
so the red side is like the last pick. Red side's like the ultimate duct tape to like really fix a team or like really break the team.
Yeah, but blue side has its advantages because Poppy is the most broken jungler right now. So every team is picking Poppy number one if it's open. And so red side is like the counter pick draft. Blue side is like, okay, we're gonna center the team comp around first pick being the strongest available pick after 6 bans. That's why blue side is sometimes preferred by teams, but some teams like red side because they like counter picking later in the draft. So that's a little bit interesting. Here, red side want Lissandra in this situation because Lissandra is really good at engage and disengage. So this situation, Lissandra is just trying to fill in for the team comp because they just want more like engage or disengage for the hyper carry Aphelios. So that's kind of like a reason why.
What
And
I notice, oh sorry,
yeah, go ahead.
what I notice is like red side super tanky.
Yeah, red side is tanky, that is true, but there's a few advantages uh, to red side and left side. Uh, so left side advantage, blue side over here is that you have the stronger jungler because obviously we first pick the best champion. You have the stronger jungler. Bot lane is kind of like even. Rakan is better at engaging, but Tahm Kench is better at disengaging. Yone versus Gnar, that matchup, he decided to choose Yone into Gnar, so you can assume that's favorable for him because he decided to choose that. It's also known that Gnar gets countered by like all-in type of champions. Zoe had to blind pick, but Zoe versus Lissandra, Zoe has better poke, but Lissandra has better engage. So it just depends if they can engage onto the Zoe or if Zoe can free poke. So this is how you analyze the team comps. And in this situation, uh, left side right here in this team comp, in my opinion, has a slight advantage because you have winning lane top, strongest jungler, winning lane mid, and then bot lane, Jinx just farms, but Rakan glues the team together with the CC engage for team fights. This doesn't mean that it's a significant advantage. It does not mean that it's like a 80%. It's more like a 60% advantage. And then red side's advantage is that Gnar is a solid team fighter, AoE team fighter. Trundle is a solid team fighter as well as a tank stat stealer, so he can steal Poppy's tank stats. Lissandra is a solid team fighter, Aphelios as well, but they don't really have any winning lanes. They don't have any like lanes to like play through thoroughly, and it's not even a guarantee that like they will win late game as well because these champions scale well as well. I do see some play opportunities because they have a lot of CC, so they might be able to look for like Trundle into Lissandra CC into Aphelios burst. So there is that. And then the other thing is Tom Kench is a really good pick against engaged type champions and Zoe as well because you can eat the drowsy, you can eat Rakan engage, you can disengage Yone engage as well. So Tom Kench is a really good pick against engaged comps and kind of like the drowsy effect.
So with that, would you say like the red side's win condition would be like the Aphelios?
Yeah,
Like try and
most
like get
definitely.
him to scale the best he can and then
Yeah,
have him like do his like AoE burst thingy?
it's guaranteed that Aphelios is the win condition because that's the hyper carry, and Gnar is going to fill more of a Gnar. The solo lanes Gnar Lissandra are more CC heavy than the blue side solo lanes. So that's the thinking about it. This is good to practice whenever you watch games as well. It's the pregame analysis part because it'll help you train your knowledge in the game as well. And if you ever don't know about a champion, you'll just take notes as you watch, and then you learn more about the champion. Or in this case, you're watching, from my point of view, so I'm teaching you the champion indirectly as well. So this is a solid level 1 cheese. Keep notice on the map here how they look to go for this top laner with a sandwich attempt. That's a really good attempt when you know the enemy top laner does not have like a dash. You would never do this against like a Gnar because Gnar can E over walls. So you see there around 3 people went from top side, 2 people went from bot side, uh, and we kind of see that they combo together to try and burn a flash. So I'm gonna go ahead and play this a little bit faster. So let's take a look at where the junglers start. That's also another point of interest. Start thinking about why the junglers decide to start bot side. This is important to start thinking about. Why do the junglers want to start both kind of like the bot side? And what's really interesting to me is Poppy decided to do Raptors first and then into the blue buff. So really interesting pathing. And I just want you guys to just expand your knowledge by trying to think about reasons why Poppy and Trundle might be doing exactly what they're doing.
I think Poppy might be trying to gank early. It might. I won't say they're ganking top. It's like that top lane wave is like top lane's very passive of a lane where Nara's just gonna throw autos and has a really easy disengage. Or the Poppy might be trying to set up an all in against the Nar, so he's back.
hmm Yeah, I
It's
wouldn't
two
say he's
minutes.
looking to gank. I would say the reason why he did Raptors into his blue because he was afraid of Trundle invading the blue buff. So he wanted to secure the blue buff. The reason why he was afraid of Trundle invading the blue buff at level 2 is because Trundle is a very strong level 2 champion. And then in this situation, he decides to do a Raptor start, path top, and then back down to the bot Scuttle Crab because he knows that his bot lane will get prio. So that is important, is if you know one of your lanes get prio, so in this situation, he knows that bot lane gets prio, he's getting the guaranteed scuttle here. Generally speaking, when it comes to top lane matchups, usually the lane with ranged early game gets the top lane prio. So that's why Poppy was probably like, okay, I'm not gonna go top because Gnar is gonna get prio. He's ranged. And in this situation, bot lane Jinx pushes really fast. You get attack speed and AoE clear from the auto attacks, and that's why. Now take another look at this, guys. Take a look at how the Jinx looks to base after pushing in the wave and after getting prio for the Poppy. The Poppy decides to base after clearing all the level 1 camps. Same with Trundle. Now they're both on level 2 spawn camps. So they're on their second cycle. Notice how they base after finishing all of their first cycle. Now they're on their second cycle. Poppy's doing the same thing. Raptors, Gromp, and then Trundle's doing the same thing. Gromp, Wolf. So you can see there's a lot of repeat in terms of the jungle tracking, jungle pathing. So here, top lane decided to trade very aggressively, and that's why you see Poppy here skipping the Gromp instead and looking to see if like Gnar is gankable. He uses the sweeper. This is a good time for Poppy to go sweeper because he knows that like at this point in the game, like now his ganks will be effective because he has the item to back it up. He goes to boots because boots move speed is really good on Poppy because it puts you in a good position to be able to actually knock people into walls and get this done. Take a look at why Trundle starts Dragon here.
He has prio bot.
Yep, he had Prio Bot, but what was the other signal? What did Poppy do that gave up the dragon?
Missed the puppy, to be honest.
It's because the Poppy showed top lane river. So pro junglers are really good at this. If they see, okay, I'm bot side, and enemy junglers show top side, to, even just to walk on a ward, that's drip free dragon right there. So that's something we can take and put into our solo queue gameplay because I don't see this enough in solo queue, where you see the enemy jungler show on a ward top or to gank top, our first instinct would be, okay, now it's a free dragon. That should be what we're thinking. Most of the time, it will work out if it's around your second clear and you have at least like level 5, you can solo dragon. Some champions can solo dragon a little bit earlier, but most champions usually level 5 and item, kind of like this Trundle here. So you can see both junglers base right now, and they usually base after, um, well, in this case, Poppy finished his cycle on the bot side and then decided to base right before the Herald spawns. Notice how they base around the time before an objective spawns because they want to be strongest for it. They want to have the gold spent from their, inventory so that they're strong contesting an important fight, which is this Herald here. Notice how Zoe did the same thing too. Based Look how Aphelios Tom Kench base swap mid. This is the 8 minute. So you see the base timers match up with the objective that's coming up to play. See how everything is kind of moving around this Herald objective? Everyone is moving around here. Take a look at this. Why does Poppy start the Herald here? Why do you think he decides, okay, let's just start it, just like randomly like that? What are some signs that he saw that leads him into deciding, okay, let's just do it right away? So in this situation, the reason why TSM Lucide starts Herald right away is because they saw Lissandra bottom and they know that Jinx is close to here. So they're trying to finish it before Lissandra can come up. But unfortunately, they didn't finish it fast enough. Poppy missed his ulti. At least Poppy got the smite. And in this situation, they're trapped because Lissandra comes to the show and they're not in a good position. Yone was already low before the fight start, so take a look at that. Yone's already low. Jinx is mid, so from 100 Thieves' perspective, they just want to go as aggressive as possible, and they have the CC engage comp. So TSM made a big mistake here by not calculating how fast Lissandra moves up. So Lissandra moves up really fast in this situation, just because she has full boots in 9 minutes. So that's something you have to calculate as well. Okay, now take a look at the minimap of how people set up for the dragon here. This is pretty important. Dragon's probably the most common objective for anyone to set up for. You can see the reason why Poppy decides to go into the enemy jungle here is because they have mid lane push and bot lane push, and those laners are walking with him, looking for a pick and looking for vision. So that's really solid map awareness, and it's really good game play from, a team perspective as well. You can see how fast the Poppy roams. It's like really insane. Yeah, and this is how they get secure dragon. And in this situation, uh, the next play is going to be really important for 100 Thieves. They saw that here TSM committed on the bot side. So what 100 Thieves is doing right now is called a cross map play, and I'll let you guys put it together of why it works like this. So this is very common, what you want to do in solo queue as well. Cross map playing, when you see that the enemy is committing too hard on the opposite side, you can commit on, the side that they're obviously not on. So TSM was on bot side, right? So 100 Thieves sees that, and now they're committing to make a tower play, get Herald plates, not Herald, but get plates on the top tower. So that's exactly what 100 Thieves did. If TSM didn't react, most people in solo queue wouldn't react to this, and then you just get a free top tower. Ooh, 1v1. Close 1v1. If you hit that second Q, then you would have killed the Gnar. So here you see it, at this point, this is what supports do all the time as well, is usually at this stage of the game, 12 minutes, even sometimes before this as well, when they have a long timer to push the wave into the tower, as you can see in the bot lane, they decide to roam to a volatile lane. And he can tell this is a volatile lane from base because Gnar is pushed up and he's hitting for tower plates. And he's also walking to the same side that jungler is on. So that's why Tahm Kench goes top, and that's why Rakan moves to the jungler. Usually, like supports like to move with the jungler at this stage of the game because it makes your ganks 2 times more impactful rather than playing alone. So if you're ever playing with a support main, or if you're ever playing with a good support, this is what they're doing. And then usually, of course, like the supports will come back down to bot side. Supports usually return to their lane when their laners need it, when they're vulnerable to get dove, or when the junglers just decide to, start farming or base. And here, Poppy was like, did his blue buff. And then in this situation, the AD carries don't need help. That's why you see the supports moving with the junglers or playing for vision on their own as well. So all this is really good gameplay from, a support positional point of view. And you see they're already setting up for like the river control 2 minutes ahead of this dragon timer. And that's how early the best teams, look for these timers. Plus the bot river is probably the most important spot of the map because it connects to the most important lanes. It connects 4 players in the game. That's why you consider top lane more of an island because just in general, if you can get the bot lane river connection, you're connecting 4 out of 5 players in the game already. Here, you can see that TSM is overcommitting on controlling the bot river. And 100 Thieves is just resorting, okay, well, they're committing to the bot river. Let's just get top river control. So they're cross map playing again, as we see here. Ooh, that was a close play. So one misconception that we had was we assumed that Yone was able to beat Gnar, but that seemed to be more of a skill matchup than we had expected. And not only that, but Trundle was deciding to play more top side, and TSM was playing to side more bot side. So sometimes jungle pathing and in a skill matchup can sway that matchup rather than the champion matchup itself. Here, Aphelios plays this really well. They get really good poke, and then Aphelios uses Gale Force. So take a look here. It's a little unusual that dragons spawn for this long and no one, is taking it. And it's because of this bot lane fight here. Generally speaking, the dragon should have been, TSM's, but Jinx didn't have prio and Jinx also died. So instead, they're deciding, okay, let's just take the Herald, which is the lesser of the objectives, and then 100 Thieves gets the better objective, which is the dragon, because they won the bottom priority. They have the bottom priority, so they give up dragon and bot tower, but TSM wanted to get something at least, so they get the Herald. And then second herald usually leads to mid tower break if mid tower is still up. So you just group with your bot laners and mid laners, and then you just use herald for that tower. So that's usually the case of what you want to use second herald for. Of course, first herald you would want to use it to break mid tower too, but sometimes you use that just for any low HP tower, just to get the first tower gold bounty.
you're not going right into your crit and trying to get to your infinity edge, so it does delay that a little.
For sure, that's actually a nice synergy with Yona's kit itself as we get a bit of mid-siege and the disengage. Spica actually gonna look for a closer, wasn't a flash away because Soul wanted to eat for a bit more damage, but he's already flashed away. So that actually is pretty big damage out of Zoe. So they first the ulti out of Hui, can't find the knockup though, nor the charm. Maple forced to burn his own flash, get out now, and here comes Megan R. Sent right back out, no thank you. A stopwatch for Maple, a knock with the backside, trying to zone out, Abadaga already mid laner is dead. An ulti to follow up, Spica might be dropping as well. 500 health left, will stay alive. 100 Thieves, 1 for nothing.
That was a beautiful coordinated 2-flank engage from 100 Thieves. You have Someday coming from one
Notice how
side,
this is
CHJ,
the second
Someday
fight
there's
that
another
TSM
flank coming.
has
Abadaga finds it and
misplayed.
they get the extra
So
control.
in this
Great job
situation,
from 100.
TSM went for an engage again, or went for an aggressive play, but didn't factor in how fast Lissandra can come to react. So they go for this play because they see that Lissandra isn't anywhere to be shown mid. So it's a 43 for a moment. But then the issue is they're going very aggressively, and they're going into enemy territory when the enemy has so much CC with like the Trundle Pillar, the disengage from Tom Kench, and in this situation, Lissandra is a very fast champion to walking up. Alright, I want you guys to take a look at the map and ward positioning for 100 Thieves. So take a look at their positioning, how they play out this next objective. Because definitely 100 Thieves is in control of this game right now. You can tell based off the item differences, they're on spikes. So they want to fight, they want to make any aggressive play as they can, because take a look at the item differences across the board from carries. Whenever you see completion of items, that's when it's your chance to play aggressive. So I want you guys to see the map movement here. So they have mid shoved in, they have bot shoved in, and the Sandra is about to shove top as well. After every single wave shove, you can see the yellow line. The casters are trying to point it out. They're rotating after the shove to get more control into the center of the map, kind of like in chess, where you rotate your pieces to the center to get more control. And now 100 Thieves has a better advantage because they're closer to the center and they have the dragon control. Okay, so this is why Poppy is really OP. This is why Poppy is like first pick. It's because the ulti is like a game changer for a lot of objective fights. You ulti anybody away, you have an advantage for a slight moment, especially at objective smite fights. If you ulti the jungler away, that's a free smite. But remember how we talked about the item advantage from 100 Thieves? So that's why TSM is running away here. It's because 100 Thieves wants to fight because they have the item advantage. That's why they're pressing forward so aggressively. So a lot of the times, take a look at your items. If you do have stronger items, just team fight. That's as simple as it goes. In solo queue, in any elo, in flex, in normals. If you have an item advantage like this, Aphelios 2 items, complete, Jinx 1.5 items. The completion is where it matters because when you complete an item, you get active effects and it's a huge spike. Gnar 2 items complete, Lissandra 2 items complete. As you can see, TSM's Yone, Zoe, Jinx doesn't have 2 items complete. Nobody on TSM's team has 2 items complete, so they don't get the extra bonus. And after they win even a small fight, they instantly run up to Baron with the numbers advantage. Even a slight numbers advantage late game gives you Baron for sure. So Yone definitely went too far. And yeah, TSM does not have the items to even come close to winning a fight. And then take a look at this. This is a very interesting play of how they use Baron. So after you get Baron, this is how you want to play the map. Generally speaking, if you're in solo queue, if you can't do this, just look for the 5-man mid lane or 5-man bottom lane. But this is how you usually want to do it. You want 4 people mid, 1 person bot lane. Eventually, after you push in 1 mid wave, you send 3 people bot lane, so it totals to 4 people bot lane, and then you send the most independent person with wave clear or an escape, Lissandra, to keep baroning mid to distract them, while these guys over here make a 4 bottom rotation play, and now in this situation you get a free bot tower because you're cutting off blue team's rotation to the bot tower, and in this situation now you can just repeat again if you want to go for mid tier 2 tower. Or if you're feeling confident enough, you can also siege this bottom tower as well. Usually you go for inner towers before you go for, um, or you usually you go for the outermost towers before you go into the innermost. That's why you see both tier 2 towers going down first. They're the easiest. And then now, at this point in the game, you can just use the Baron buff wave to slowly kill the towers. You can see like no one's like brave enough to hit the tower because Rakan does have good engage as well, but the Baron minions are doing a lot. And you see they're splitting them up. So see how red team here is scaring the enemies from um to bring people to bot side, but then eventually, they slowly rotate numbers to mid lane on each wave. And because when you're catching, the enemy through rotations, you have a few extra seconds to hit the tower before they reach here. And then I feel like any fight 100 Thieves will win now because item difference and at this point, item difference will carry a lot with like the 7k lead and you have Baron buff. So they should feel very confident fighting. All right, that's the game. All right, does anyone have any questions about that game in specific? Okay, let's go ahead and look up Dignitas versus C9. Okay, so in this game specifically, I'm going to do 1.5 now that you guys are getting the hang of things. We're going to be able to see the map movements a little bit better. I can even do 1.75. So usually I get used to watching the games at like 2 to 3 times speed whenever I look to review. That way I can watch, 2 to 3 times more VODs than I usually would have. And usually in these type of games, I like to pay attention more to the minimap too and the jungle pathing as a jungler. And then if I want to pause at specific team fights. Here you can see like the draft priority pretty easily. Poppy is number 1. Zarya is a very strong jungle pick. Udyr is decently strong as well into like Poppy matchup. They decide to go Yuumi here for comp because Yuumi is very good with Zarya and Udyr because they're both like move speed based champions. And let's take a look at what blue side decides to first pick. So if mid lane first picks here, that means that they're giving last pick to top lane counter pick. Also, it makes sense because Orianna is playing into Azir, and that's just a solid scaling matchup. Orianna also is very good with like Udyr. So here you can see, usually on blue side, when you're blind picking top lane, a lot of people like to blind pick tanks, or a lot of people like to blind pick generally champions that can't be super countered. So here we see a Gnar on the top side, Gnar versus Gragas. Gnar can actually punish Gragas a decent amount because Gnar does like a really good, what's it called, percentage damage. And if Gragas decides to build HP, then Gnar will have no problem against that. But it's not really a super hard counter, it's just a chill lane. More importantly, this game, I'm gonna have my eyes out for bot lane because you have a super hyper carry bot lane. Jinx as well as a super hyper carry, and then the jungle matchup because Poppy has a lot of playmaking ability because he can most definitely dive any of these lanes as well as like he can gank mid as well because Azir can shuffle Ori into the Poppy. So I would watch out for Poppy ganks. So C9's win condition is more of like scaling based. They want to avoid getting ganked early game because Zeri Yumi is super scaling based. Orianna as well. They have a whole team fight comp. Left team comp is also a team fight comp too, but I don't see them being able to deal with right side team comp late game. Just because Yumi is like a really insane scaler, and then Orianna can support these two carries as well, Zeri and Udyr. Nara is solid late game as well. Late,
Doesn't Udyr usually build tank?
yeah, Udyr builds tank. Just because he builds tank doesn't mean that he doesn't want shields on him and doesn't want heals on him. Because if he builds tank and they have to damage him a lot, the extra shield is worth more because of his resistance stats. The extra HP is worth more because he already has resistance stats. So that's one way to think about it. The reason why Udyr is really strong if he gets really fed is because he becomes unkillable and then he has high base damages. So tanks with high base damage are really scary if they get fed. So that's why like Udyr is like kind of like a tank that can um can't be ignored.
Dude, I love Udyr. Such
Yeah.
a fun little. He's just a guy that wants to just run up to you and slap you, and
It's
it's
true.
beautiful. Oh no. And that's about it. Is like you can go so many different routes with Udyr. You can build him a little tanky. You can build him a little bit more damage.
Yep. Most people
Even
built
freaking
him tank in like a higher elos just because
yeah.
you rely you just like use the high DPS anyway.
And speed.
Yeah.
The man's fast.
Yep. And for you Poppy players out there, I know Blast plays Poppy. Raptor start on Poppy is like one of the best starts because you just one shot the camp with 2 Qs. And so that's why Poppies love starting Raptors.
Yeah, I was just about to ask about that, and I was also about to hit up the hit up the conversation with the Poppy gang because like Poppy doesn't really get targeted with nerfs, and also a lot of what Riot's been doing with balancing is really targeted at like healing and sustain and such, and like Poppy doesn't require that, so she's really, I would say, probably better in the meta because none of those things really affect her.
Yep. Also,
Really
it's
high agility.
Sunfire is really strong in the meta right now, and it's really good on Poppy. And then here you can notice like Poppy goes for bot scuttle because we have bot push and mid push. You
Yumi
see,
just died.
yeah, it's really is very scary for Yumi lanes generally speaking, early game because that's the weakest point. They don't generally want to have volatile lanes.
one thing for anybody considering picking Poppy, they're going the phase rush Poppy. I would say that I exclusively run phase rush. It's like highly recommended in like all the apps and like builds that people run the what's that, Dark Harvest,
Yep.
and I highly discourage that. There's
For
so much more
for
utility
any
for
for
phase
any
rush.
junglers right now looking to pick up a new champion or more of like a ganking team fighting playstyle, or tank playstyle, Poppy is the number one pick by far, even over Wukong right now, because Poppy is way better at ganks, way better at team fighting than Wukong right now, and like champions like Vi, and you counter a lot of dash champions as well. So definitely a recommended pick. I would consider it even if it's like you don't have any games on it. I would play like a few normal games and start playing it ranked. That's how OP it is right now, and I feel like the solo queue meta has not caught up with the pro meta, and people don't realize how strong Poppy is right now.
I feel that. Like, I feel like why Poppy hasn't played that much in solo queue is it's not someone's like comfort pick. You know,
Yep.
like people play Poppy because it's a counter pick, but it's like if I'm like first choice, I'm going to choose something that I feel comfortable on, like Nautilus or
hmm
Mumu.
He fairly easy to pick up champions, so that's
Yeah,
why I recommend it.
yeah.
So
I
take a
feel
look
that.
at why TSM, or not TSM, but take a look at why C9 failed this dragon play here. It's because they have bot pressure, yes, but they do not have mid prio. So in order to guarantee an uncontestable dragon, you need both the prios. Otherwise, it's a flip. So it's a flip here because Azir has engaged possibilities. Take a look at that. Engages on the Udyr. They get the dragon, but Udyr has to die for it in the end. So it's not necessarily like worth it for C9 here right now. But in the future, if they actually get 4 dragons, then it'll be worth it. But early dragons, dying for it isn't really worth it in the moment. So then look at how Poppy is basing already for the next Herald at 7:30 because Herald spawns at 8 minutes. As a jungler, it's really important to keep your eye out for the 8-minute spawn timer because that is a really important objective. Take a look at this. Bot lane spawned coming out at 8 minutes. You can see everyone's basing coming out of base at 8 minutes. It's a very important game timer because you want to be ready to fight at around this mark because if you win a fight, you get an objective. But you see, they're not going for Herald because they don't want to sacrifice bot tower. They don't want to sacrifice Jinx because Jinx is a hyper carry and one of the important parts of Dignitas's win condition. That's why you don't see like Poppy just taking the Herald. But Poppy is confident in invading because you have mid priority. So this is an example of invading when you have your mid laner literally moving out of lane. A lot of junglers decide to invade when their laner is pushed, but not when the laner is literally moving out of lane for you. That's the big difference. Because just because the lane is pushed doesn't mean that they're going to come help you during an invade. So you have to actually see them leave the lane and run towards you. Here, this is a good Herald typing. Take a look why. It's because Jinx and Rakan have priority here, and Jinx and Rakan are moving up while Zeri has the base because they want to trade bottom. And so this how like bot lane priority or just like lane priority and shifting across the map gets you objectives. You can use the same concept for starting team fights too. Like if you have a one side laner and they're really strong, they will push, get advantage, number advantage, shift, and then you team fight, you win the team fight, and then you can use the same concept for Baron as well. It's the whole goal of pushing side lanes and moving is to get numbers advantage on the opposite side. That's where the moving part comes into play. So as we mentioned from our pregame analysis, we had a feeling that Dignitas were very strong in early game gank setup, and as you can see, they have made like pretty decent like plays in the early game. So now it's just a matter to see if like they can snowball and if C9 can hold on until late game scaling team fights. There's also a very common play, which is if you have mid prio, then you push mid wave, and every single mid wave you push, you rotate into the river to scare the enemy bot lane, in result winning your bot lane. And then usually as a jungler, your responsibility is to threaten the play with your mid laner as well. So this is similar to kind of like a let's take a look at this actually. So C9 made a really good play here because Poppy split off. So this is called just like a team fight positioning awareness. Poppy is trapped in cat, the corridor on the top side. So he has no easy way of regrouping with the team. So C9 in this moment has a 4v3 advantage, even if it's a 5-second window. Whenever you have even those seconds of windows, that's an engaged timing right there. That's a team fight timing. So those are good examples of like, okay, we have an advantage, let's go for it. So it
Don't
doesn't.
don't you think that don't you
Mhm.
think that Blabber could have made a play there, like by using his ulting like half the team away and then turning on the Udi or something?
You mean with Poppy?
Yeah,
Yeah,
like he has his ult.
technically the Poppy could play this way better as well in this situation. Like Poppy here could charge his ulti right now and start ulting them away. But at this point, he's already out of position because of
Mm-hmm.
the corridor difference. So right here, he doesn't have the foresight to understand like what's about to happen, just because he's too far away. So this is on the player's mistake. That's why players are never perfect, especially in solo queue as well. So if you do see like these differences in positioning, those are great engage opportunities. And especially when you're playing jungle, you have to be the one initiating this. So if you're playing Poppy, Wukong, Diana, Udyr, these type of junglers, you look for these slight gaps in the enemy's positioning mistake. Good engagers always come off of enemy positioning errors anyway. So it's definitely a positioning error from Poppy for not being close with the team. First of all, the Poppy's best position should have been to be walking the same direction with the team so that he can disengage with his W and his ulti and his E. Here Udyr decides to go for a top play here. And the reason why is because he accounts for everyone in the map right in this moment. Jinx is throwing bottom, Azir just pushed mid, and Poppy just walked across some wards that she cleared. So this bot river ward that she just cleared. And so Udyr takes that as an opportunity to make a play topside. They definitely messed that up, but they're just gonna trap this Grax. Oh wow. They definitely messed that up because no top laner should survive 1v2 like that. They do get the tower, but Digging Sites gets the tower, the dragon response, so it's kind of like a cross map play, cross map trade in that situation. There's also a really interesting thing to understand as well, is because Poppy decides to commit time and resource and set up into the dragon, they cannot make it to the Herald in time. So C9 decides, okay, we're gonna try and do the Herald because we have tempo advantage because they used a lot of tempo for the dragon. So in your solo queue games, whenever you see that, there's a lot of cross map plays every single part of the game. So playing off the minimap is really important. Okay, so I see the problem there. Nar just uh should have auto one more time. Take a look at the item spikes. This is a good point of the game to compare team fighting power based off of item spikes. So it's actually quite even, but Dignitas has slightly better items on their carries. As you can see, Jinx has half an item up. Mid lane is even. Top lane is basically even. Jungle is basically even, but Jinx is the one that's slightly up. So this is another example of slight positioning advantage. Here you see Poppy ultis Udyr away, creating a 4v2, and then they just go for the loner on the left. So that's why Poppy is really good. You can ulti one person away, create a numbers advantage in the fight.
All right, gamers, you convinced me. I'm gonna try Poppy after this.
Sounds good. I mean, he is literally first picked in pro play every single
Yeah,
game.
the champion's supposed to not be that hard because it's like
Yeah.
one of the champions that are like recommended for new players.
Yep.
Try
Here.
0.4. And
Yep.
the first time I played it in normal, the alt it's a bit weird.
Yeah.
I think
It
it's
might.
not
Can
The
you charge it?
ulti.
arc.
The ultimate is the weirdest part. So you have to keep in mind two things when using Poppy ultimate.
Can you hold the button?
Hold
Isn't
the
that how it
button,
works?
hold the button, and then releasing is to knock people away. You do this when you're trying to disengage or when you're trying to team fight with a slight normal numbers advantage. You do not want to do this when you're trying to fight someone and you're not trying to help them escape. A lot of poppies hold the R and actually help someone escape that's about to die. So you don't want to ulti someone away that's about to die. That just helps them. Um, Now the fast click, you can fast click, which is if you just press R and release instantly, it's a knockup. So a similar knockup to Alistar knockup, where it just brings them up in the air, and it's about the same as a Q range. Poppy's Q range is about the ulti range, and you try and get knockups when you want to CC someone in order for your teammates to follow up on that person and kill them. So there's a knock away and then there's a knock up. So very important to know when to use both. That's probably the hardest part of the kit. And then the next one is like pressing W to counter like jumps, like Lee Sin jump, Jarvan jump.
All right. Because I know the W is like it gives speed, but it like blocks dashes,
Yep.
right? Like that's the whole
But the
gimmick.
main thing is that it blocks dashes. That's the best part about the W. Take a look at this. This is a very common theme that I don't see a lot in lower elo solo queue is when teammates position for a fight, a lot of people just always enter from the left of the dragon. But if one team is first to the left of the dragon, the other team can just take the right of the dragon. That way it's easier to enter, the center of the dragon pit rather than trying to walk through a choke point. So you see here, C9 is winning the fight already because once Nar deals with this Azir, then now Dignitas is sandwiched in a 4v5 situation. So if C9 understands this very well, they're going to play the fight very slow and just wait for Nar. Take a look at this. Nar is here. Now, all of a sudden, C9 wins. So positioning advantage with the Nar coming in from the sandwich, and any slight advantage in the late game just leads to Baron. Of course, Dignitas did get the 4 dragons, so they're doing pretty well for themselves. So it's not game over just because Baron was taken. This is also important. Notice how as soon as Baron is taken, C9 bases. Everyone bases to make maximum use of Baron. And take a look at this. 4 people to the side lane, 1 person in mid. You can do 1 person in the side lane, 4 people in mid too. But generally speaking, uh, I like to go for side lane towers because they're usually easier to get because the enemy is not as protective of the side lane ones. So that was a good Poppy disengage there. Take a look at this. After C9 gets top tier 2, they decide to base, and now they're repeating the exact same play on bottom tier 2. So you can see everyone always goes for each outer tower first before working on the inners. So this is a very important note to take good care of. So they always go for number advantage on the bottom side, which gives the one person in the mid lane slight opening to go for the tower. But the reason why Gragas is giving up the tower is because he's looking for a TP flank. Because they feel like they have to win a huge team fight in order to come back. So Gragas goes for the tank flank instead. So pretty decent engage onto Orianna, but Orianna does a really good flash. Orianna still dies, but at least he stalls for a little bit of time. Then you can see here, that TP flank getting one of the biggest carries, Orianna, without Orianna being able to use any summoners. Well, Orianna used Flash, but before Orianna could use any abilities to like contribute to the team fight is huge. So whenever you're playing like a engage team comp like this, take a look at here when Gragas looks for the TP. So they predicted, you can tell that they predicted that this play was going to happen, that they were going to push bottom and rotate bottom as soon as they saw Zeri mid and as soon as they saw, okay, top tier 2 is down. So this is a really cool play. I want to show you guys the reasoning behind this. Gragas decides to push out the mid wave to hide the fact that Rakan warded it. So take a look at this. Rakan rushes to ward that bush right there. There you see. And that's what resulted in the Gragas TP flank. So really cool team coordination stuff there. And then,
Honestly,
yep, go ahead.
oh, sorry. It's just like so fascinating how there's like this totally like different like form of playing League, and like not that many people get to experience it.
Yeah,
It's just fascinating.
you can definitely try out like a lot of these concepts in flex
Yeah.
queue and normals if you can get 5, or in Clash, which makes it fun as well. So here let's take a look at this positioning. Why Dignitas decide to engage here? So they decide to go for the Oriana. Why is that?
Is Nara on the outside? He's not Mega yet, so just push a fight.
So I think for the C9 wombo to work, the key ability is the shockwave from Oriana. So like putting her out of the fight is going to be something that they want to take if they have the
So
opportunity.
I know for sure that the comms for Azerius, I can, before this fight even happened, he's already saying I can shuffle Oriana. She has no
Mm.
flash. Because when Gragas TP flanked, Oriana burned flash there. They definitely took
Ah,
account of that. And that's why they're going for Oriana. Uh, and the other reason is they don't go for Zeri instead of Oriana is because Zeri has a dash. So it's even more likely we kill Oriana. That's why they go for Oriana here. But unfortunately, like Oriana just gets away without taking any damage. And the reason why is because you see here, look at what happens to Jinx. Watch Jinx right here. He
yeah,
cannot
she's
even
in the
follow up.
backline. She gets flashed on.
Yeah. So C9 is just better at team fighting here. The reason why is because they are not focused on protecting the Jinx when Jinx has been the critical part of every single team fight. They're not playing a Zed team comp. They're not playing, an assassin dive team comp. So let this be a lesson for us to learn from, which is we play around our team comp. We play around our carry. Sometimes that's going to be Jinx. Sometimes that's going to be Yasuo. Sometimes that's going to be Riven. This game is Jinx. So if everyone goes in to engage, what happens to our Jinx? So yeah, this is really important. And
Just got dove.
this entire time, Zeri can deal damage, and Oriana can deal damage too, because there's no damage on the front line. Azir used all his damage to engage, and so look at the rest of the team. Can Poppy do anything for damage? Can Gragas do anything for damage? Can Rakan do anything for damage in the late game?
No.
Not really, especially
Do
after durability patch.
Do you think C9 also took um inventory of flashes because like there was so many flashes down for dig on that engage in the dragon?
Yeah, most definitely. Every single flash is pretty much accounted for in pro play. Any flash that you can time is already accounted for. All right. So that is all for today. We're gonna be doing another session. Um, we're gonna be doing another session next week. So I would recommend playing as much as you can for this week. And if you have any additional questions, feel free to hit me up as well. I'm happy to go over any questions with you guys throughout the week as well. And aside from that, uh, everyone's free to go. Today was a pro game VOD review day, and then I'm also going to be looking to do another Smurf commentary because I wasn't able to record the first one because of a recording bug. So I'm going to make up for that one, and so look out for that as well in the coming few days. All right, have a good one, guys.
Hey,
Do you,
Blast.